And hello there, writerly friend. Today I have a bit of a special video for you. National Novel Writing Month, NaNoWriMo, has been going on for a little while, and I've gotten a lot of questions, even more so than before. And a few of them can be wrangled up under the subject of NaNoWriMo burnout, and the fear of that, the implications of that, and a few other tidbits. So I wanted to sit down and offer not only my advice, but also my experience on NaNoWriMo, and give you a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of advice for what to do to not get burnt out over the upcoming days and weeks. But of course, before I go anywhere, allow me to give you the formal disclaimer and remind you that the following is merely just my advice, my opinion, and what works for me. Don't take it as gospel, instead take it as the ramblings of a silly person who looks a little bit, or rather precisely, like this. What kind of questions did I get these last few days? Especially right at the start of NaNoWriMo, where a lot of the big worries come in, and a lot of those doubts and fears took the form of questions like, I'm afraid I won't finish the month, or I'm afraid my story won't be 50,000 words, or I'm afraid that I'm never gonna finish the story, or I'm afraid I'll never finish NaNoWriMo and I'll never be a writer. Questions like that are always punctuated with the idea of if I do more, if I write more, if I push myself harder and harder and harder, I can complete this, and my dream will be a reality. Now, while I am the sort of person who believes that determination can achieve anything, I am also a super recovering workaholic, and I can tell you right now that the idea of the fable of the golden egg strikes true. It always strikes true. If there's something you make, you can keep overworking that goose, you can get all the golden eggs you want, but if you kill that goose, it's not going to be around anymore. Treat yourself. Step 1, treat yourself. Now, please, before I go into my actual tips, this is just the preface. Take care of yourself, okay? You earned absolutely nothing. You only lose if you burn yourself out. Take it from somebody who used to work 60 hours a week. Used to work 10, 12 hours every day, 6 days in a row, sometimes 7. Take care of yourself. Okay? And now, the actual advice. Begin! So my first piece of advice is, it's relevant to your writing space. I know that whenever people think about writing problems, or they think about making the writing more effective, they think about the act of writing, and they forget that writing doesn't happen entirely up here. Writing is also part of the world around you, and working at the right space can make writing not only more comfortable and more effective, but also less stressful. Like Stephen King said in his book on writing, a memoir by Stephen King, he talked about writing with the door closed. Not only metaphorically, as though writing without telling people about it so you can let the story be what it needs to be, but also physically closing the door to push the world away for a little bit and be able to dedicate fully, entirely to the writing. I'm talking about creating the best environment for your creative process. It's not only your space, but also the privacy within the space. Some people can write only when they're by themselves or only when they're surrounded by people. I do both. I actually enjoy writing at coffee shops or libraries or public spaces because they feel like polar opposites. Polar opposites or two sides of the same coin. You're either locked away and you know that no one can interrupt you, or you're surrounded by people and you know as a fact that no one will interrupt you because nobody likes talking to anybody out in public. Find the place that works best for you. For me, I just close the door. I tell people in the house, hey, you know what, I'm gonna be writing for a little while. If you need anything, and if it's not super urgent, if you're not on fire, keep it until later. I'll get it done, I promise. Communication is super important, and I know that for the youngest of you, you probably are living in spaces where you're not exactly supported for your artistic inspirations of wanting to tell stories, and most likely your parents won't respect your wishes of not being interrupted in the middle of writing, but you have to ask, and you have to communicate. Like one of my closest writerly friends told me, you only get lucky if you say yes. So you gotta ask, you gotta Tell them, hey, I'm going to be working on something really important for the next hour or so. Please don't interrupt me. I need to be focused. Your writing space matters. And I know that I've gone on a little bit long on this particular point, but seriously, where you make your art is really important. I have been at points in my life where the writing was hardest, not because of the subject, not because of my deadlines, but because I was trying to get stuff done in a house where the people in there were not exactly open to my way of doing things. And, and I hate to put it like this really bluntly, but when you can hear people screaming at each other, maybe not screaming about you, but screaming to each other through the wall, it's really hard to focus on the writing. Am I right? Also, music really helps because it also can help you push the world away just for a little while. So, what is one of my steps for preventing NaNoWriMo burnout? Consider your writing space, because everybody forgets about that. Everyone is just like, do this, do that, and I'm like, what about the foundations? What about the place where you are writing? You have to think about the very basics before you move on anywhere, and little foundations like this can really help, because if you can know with certainty that you can sit down and write comfortably without interruptions, it's a lot easier to get the writing done. Get in, get out, and get back to life. Now, with that super practical tip out of the way, let's go into the second tip. And this is one that I've said forever, and if you've been following me, you know what's coming. It's okay to take breaks. It's okay, repeat after me. It's okay to take breaks. You can take a break in the middle of a writing session. You can take a break every few writing sprints. It's okay. You can take a day off. It's alright. Like I've said before, and I'm going to say it again until it gets through every single one of you, NaNoWriMo is not about numbers. NaNoWriMo is not about numbers. NaNoWriMo is about making the habit to write. To be able to get yourself into the mood to write and to keep writing beyond November. And I know that this sounds super obvious to anybody out there just looking at mere facts, but you gotta understand, the only way to write books is to actually write them. And the only way to write books is to develop the habit to write. And if you can do that, you can do anything. Seriously, like I've said, it always breaks my heart when people are like, I completed NaNoWriMo, and then stop writing. Like, 1st of December, don't write. And I'm like, you got it! Yeah, this is what you need. This is the one thing that years of me taking creative writing courses, the people who wanted to write but didn't get anywhere. The habit to write, the desire to sit down and say, I'm going to write this story and I'm going to share it with the world, and word by word, paragraph by paragraph, I am going to mold this story into being. From imagination and little black squiggles on the pages, I'm going to create a story. That's magic. Having the determination, having that almost primal necessity to tell a story is good. But overworking yourself is not good, is the opposite of that. It creates this negative attachment to the act of writing. If every time that you have free time, all you can think of is, I gotta write, I gotta write, I gotta write, I gotta write. It starts grinding down on you, and it stops being from a happy feeling or an inspirational feeling to a negative feeling. And sometimes you need breaks. I recently dealt with a lot of personal things that were preventing me from doing work and art and what I enjoy doing. And my artist Blakesworth and I came up with the best metaphor for how life feels sometimes. And you may think to yourselves, Max, this is a tangent. It's not. It's immediately related to this. Have you ever played The Sims? You know how in The Sims, a game in which you play a simulated family of, several members, you make a house for them, they live, they have jobs, they have relationships. Each sim has a collection of bars that describe how they feel about particular things, whether it is their rest, their bladder, their fun, and their social meter. And I told Plague that when we were at the peak of things being terrible for both of us, my life bar was filled up to the brim. And if you've played The Sims, whenever a bar is filled up or empty, you have to make sure that the sim goes to the bathroom or sleeps, does something to empty or fill that bar. And sometimes the writing bar gets super filled. And just like in The Sims, there are negative effects if you keep doing that thing that you are filled with. Sometimes you get too much writing, and that's okay. And you know what you gotta do? You gotta take a break. It's okay to take a day off. My next point will go a little bit deeper on this, but let me tell you right now, it's okay to take a break. That determination That desire to write will come back stronger if you allow, those bars to empty out a little bit. It's okay. Now, there's one more thing I want to say, but it is basically immediately connected to the final point number 3. So I thought, you know what? Instead of rambling about that, let's just swerve right into that. Is that even the correct metaphor? Forget about it. We're going to go in there and we're going to talk about it. What is my third point? Max, you're telling me that I should write and write, but also, I should also take breaks. But Max, if I take breaks, I'm not gonna meet my word count, and then it's just gonna, my deficit is gonna just keep building up and building up and building up, and then next thing you know, writing is not fun anymore. Well, point number 3, remember what NaNoWriMo is actually about. Okay? It's not about numbers. It's not about numbers. And I know that probably me saying this is the same reason why the NaNoWriMo Twitter is never gonna retweet anything I say, but National Novel Writing Month is not about numbers. It's about making the habit to write. It's okay to miss a few words here and there. It's okay to miss a day here and there because you're gonna get back into writing. Much like the goose and the golden egg. It's okay if that goose doesn't make a golden egg for one freaking day. It's fine. Like I've said in the past, 50,000 words doesn't make a novel, and it's kind of an arbitrary number. As with anything else in life, remember that you and you hold the power to define success and failure. NaNoWriMo is not about a number of words. I mean, yes, I know that that's what it says on the homepage, and if you achieve the arbitrary number of words, then, you get a reward. I know, I get it, but ultimately, to me, it's all just a really clever ruse to get you to write. Not only through peer pressure, but also to the reward of being part of a community of writers and passionate people who are out there trying to get their stories out there to the world. This is ultimately not about words, not about books, it's about telling stories. And there's a little bit of a harsh truth, and I'm just gonna drop it right now. Telling stories is a binary state. You either get to write that story or you don't write that story. And it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to slow down a little bit, because if you burn yourself out and you never share that story, if you never finish that story, then was all of that sacrifice worth it? I don't think so. Ultimately, you're here to tell a story, to finish it, and to share it with the world. So it's okay to slow down. It's okay to make adjustments to your life, and it's okay to make adjustments to your writing schedule so you can keep on living and keep on writing. You gotta do what works the best for you. Ultimately, NaNoWriMo is about writing. And in order to achieve this goal, you gotta do what you need to do. Change your work environment, take breaks whenever you feel that work bar has gotten a little bit too filled, and you gotta think about something else other than work or other than writing. And push through. Beyond the numbers, beyond the worries, 50,000 words doesn't make a novel, and it is pretty downright arbitrary. The point is to write. Because once you can write, once you make that habit of writing every few days or every night, you can do anything. Nothing can absolutely stop you at that point. You have the magic. You've developed the power. You've got the secret. Nothing can stop you. Developing the habit to write is kind of the secret magic of this process, and I want to inspire you to make that work for you. NaNoWriMo doesn't exactly work for everyone because every writer is different, and that's okay. Make it work for you. You can still be a part of the community. You can still participate in. It's okay. It's a really arbitrary number. It's okay. Take care of yourself and make sure to go into this month not only, excited and with the desire to tell a story, but also motivated and mindful of your own health. Take care of yourself. It's okay to take breaks. The only point is to get back into the writing. It doesn't matter how fast you go, as long as you keep on walking and you do not stop. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this particular subject. I know that NaNoWriMo can be really stressful, but please, 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 take care of yourselves, okay? Going out there and working yourself down to the bone is not gonna achieve anything if you don't ever write ever again, or you don't write until next November, in 2016. That's a little bit counterproductive. Take care of yourself, take breaks if you need to, and get back into the writing, okay? Okay. Thank you for watching, thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I'll be seeing you on the next one.